With the death of Castora, Sardinia has fallen far. The Castallans have waited for the last of House Torres' strong monarchs to die, and with it, cast us into war. Iberian troops marched into Sardinian-controlled Aragon and took it with little issue. The heir Castora is but a child, and with the chaos of war in full swing, resulted in the burghers grabbing much power. During the war, Sardinia's navy was without equal, winning over and over again, but this was not enough. In North Africa, Sardinia's armies were crushed. A last-ditch effort was made to siege out Tangiers and block the Spanish army's path back to Iberia. But as the castle was about to fall to House Torres, we were defeated at its walls. With this, terms were given, and almost all of Iberia lost. This is a time of uncertainty for our family, though the lands of the New World are full of wealth beyond belief. If we find the city of gold there, all may still be redeemed. This is the 6th part of an EU4 portion of the House Torres mega campaign. We have heard rumors of a city of gold somewhere in the New World, someplace where there is wealth beyond belief. Already in traders and with natives of this strange region of Asia we have met, they have shown us that there's wealth there. Gold and silver, spices. One of the main things we will be doing at the start of the game is detaching a contingent of soldiers, and we will be sending them to the New World under the guidance of Bernat Gilberti, one of our generals who did not do very well in the war. The other thing that is absolutely cataclysmically bad is our debt. We did burgher loans, so we don't have almost any interest on it, but we are 3,000 ducats in debt right now to fight that war. We took out those loans, given we had a regency from the burghers who were in control after the death of Castora. Castora III was under their control. He still really is. I mean, his first trait is well advised, so I'm going to take that to mean that the burghers have basically just got a hold of it in our government that we're not going to see them give up anytime soon. One of our officers has, with the help of several scribes, compiled a manual of collected knowledge about warfare found in our army. The tome covers fighting styles, tactics, and histories of significant battles, and unlike previous books of its kind, this one has been written in the Corso Sardinia language rather than Latin. This will make it much easier to train officers and soldiers alike. We will not give this noble family any aid. We don't have the money. Our inflation is going crazy because we can't pay off our 3,000 ducats in loans. Let's send Bernat into the New World. He's going to bring order to the colony, as we did have an uprising there. And when he's done, we're going to get him to go look for that city that we've heard so many rumors about. Whether it is fiction or not, we do not know, but certainly worth looking. The Mercantile Company has built new vessels for our war fleet and is willing to donate them to the crown. As cool as this is, this really shows us how much the wealth of our nation has begun to shift towards the burghers, right? This trade company is dropping us heavy ships like it's nothing. Hellas has one territory left in the mountains of fucking Bulgaria. How the mighty fall. Fountain of youth. Tales of a fountain that brings eternal youth to anyone who bathes in its waters or drinks from it have long been known. Some have always rejected this idea, while others have searched for it to no avail. We will be successful in finding the water of life, this fountain of youth. Simply, we found someone on board Barima who has seen it and is willing to take us there for a price, of course. The Reinheitsgebot has been adapted, perhaps the oldest food regulation. The Gebot ordered that the ingredients of beer be restricted to water, barley, and hops. Food regulation laws applied throughout Germany and made beer more restricted. Lombardy is at war with Venice, Augsburg, and Crane. We will, of course, accept. They have been a loyal ally of ours, and they should have no problems winning this war, but we will enter just in case. I am going to break our royal marriage with the French as well. Naval ambitions. We will explore the rest of the Caribbean Sea up into, hopefully, this is where we'll start to find the rest of the Indonesian archipelago and the Spice Islands. No way! A small waterfall feeds into the Fountain of Youth in Hambupe, whose bright blue, crystal clear water looks almost as good as it tastes. Our weary expedition members claim that bathing in the water refreshed them both physically and mentally, clearing most of the tiredness and all the grime from their minds and bodies. But it did not last long. Only hours after their baths, the tiredness was back, and the water brought in canteens from the lake only quenched their thirst. We actually found the water of life. Yeah, there it is. It's right next to the coastline where we're going to build our colony. We'll send another colonist to get the region near it. We have the backup. that we require. Introducing tomatoes to Europe. The tomato was introduced into Europe in the second half of the 16th century, part of the Columbian Exchange. The staple was subsequently conveyed by European mariners to territories and ports throughout the world. Oh, it's a trade good in the mod we have. That's super cool. 100 ducats and 20 prestige. In the court of King Castora, surrounded by advisors, which everyone in Sardinia knows are made up almost entirely of the various trading guilds, maritime practices, and trading companies that now dominate Sardinia Corsica. It's been a long time since the days of Lissandro, when harsh and centralized rule was supreme in Sardinia Corsica. The traders of a generation have been advocating for radical change in Sardinia. They see the new world and the wealth that is abundant there, and that of Eastern Asia, or whatever this may be, to be of pinnacle concern, and as such have been lobbying the king since he was a child at the age of 5 for a radical change. Their suggestion is that there is an entire pivot out of the affairs of Europe, and in order to have a fresh start, they're advocating for new allies, new systems, and new priorities. The wealth of Asia we now know unequivocally to be vast. The Ming are an expanding power whose colonies are already well past our own. The wealth there, if we could enter into markets, would be beyond belief. In addition to that, with none of the other major Western powers going colonial, never mind, the French are, and the Spanish, and the British. I take that back. With Western Europe beginning to catch up to us with exploration, the traders have advocated for radical change. Sardinia currently finds itself with no major allies, and with Castora entirely under their control, they have gotten his agreement for an extreme change. In this agreement, the alliance with the papal state will be formally broken, and the powers of the clergy begun to be taken away. In addition to this, they have called for the selling of the last of the Iberian territories to the Castallans in order to show up any potential wars that may exist with Europe's pinnacle empire in the future. They advocate for several alliances moving forward, which our diplomats will attempt to get. Primarily that is with Britain, an old ally, a good trading partner, and a nation that is now beginning to see colonial affairs in a light similar to our own. In addition, they have advocated for a rebuilding of relations with the heathens in Vladimir. With the clergy formally pushed out of power in Sassari, it is now the prerogative of our king and our court to pursue any alliance for more practical means. We will then be pursuing an alliance with Vladimir, and if we can attain it, we will formally give up our last remaining connection with the House of Hellas, which no longer even carries our name, and we will pursue alliance and good cooperation with the Orthodox state Anatolican. What is happening effectively RP-wise is that the burghers are now in total power. The clergy is going to be completely ousted. I'm going to go ahead and do that too, which will cause us problems, but I don't care. And we'll give them control over monetary policy. So we are effectively more or less now run by the burghers and the trading guilds, and they have really almost total power over the king. He still has large degrees of centralized power, but given he was brought up with them, it's a case I feel as more like Castora not only agrees with them because he's a smart enough man to give good advice. They are giving him good advice, of course, but he also was raised under their tutelage, so in many ways, he would identify heavily with them. So generally speaking, we're shifting way more to trade. We're going to be focusing purely on colonialism and trade from here on out. In Europe, as soon as I sell our territories in Castalla, we're going to work on really no wars there, unless we get dragged into things, and then we may. We will get fucking paid. This will allow us to pay off our debt too, which is absolutely massive, so this actually does make a lot of sense for us to do. Our ancestors are looking up from hell and cursing us with everything they can possibly imagine right now. Can you imagine the curse words coming out of Lissandro as he's being tortured by the devil? My god. What I'm thinking here that is interesting is that potentially with the rise of the burghers and the puppet status we now have for our kings, it would be really cool to kind of have an ongoing kind of system where the more independent pro-republic non-monarchist faction, the monarchists, are constantly going back and forth. And the way that we could do that is just like anytime the monarchists get power, I'll just literally change it to be a Torres. So the family will always be the same, but we'll still allow for that kind of behavior. What we're going to get to do is, among the many reforms the burghers will do with their puppet king, is to implement a system whereby they give broad powers to the non-centralized bureaucracy that typically has made up the power in Sardinia and Corsica. So what that will allow us to do is to effectively have two factions which will constantly push for power in Sardinia, which I think will be interesting, accurate, and allow for some interesting stuff moving into Vic 3. So we'll form more of a constitutional monarchy to a degree, and we'll be able to play off those power dynamics. So we're going to do that. We'll just say moving forward that there will always be a royal family. So House Torres will be in power. I'll RP that out constantly in our decision making and stuff like that. But we may get a chancellor from the Statists who basically is in control of our government from here on out, I think. The strengthening of the Statists has forced Castora to accept the election of a new chancellor. Both the Statists and monarchists have put forward a candidate. And we'll go Berzoni II. And we'll give the Statists power. The first thing Chancellor Barzone Serra will do, after speaking extensively Castora III, they see eye to eye. Castora was given a trading education. He grew up in many ways with the Chancellor, and they both see eye to eye on the importance of colonialism and trade in the New World. And as such, they'll be pursuing a very, very aggressive policy with regards to the tribes there, starting with just unequivocally the annexation of this tribe. Given our breaking from the clerch and our move to a more secular government to a degree, we're going to allow pagan influence. The mercantile interest has lobbied for expansion of mercantilist policies. We're considering an expansion of these policies to see if they would be beneficial to our nation. And we get a mercantilist. The growing power of the burghers has led to individuals from within their ranks to seek their fortunes in areas traditionally dominated by other groups. The sons of mid to low prominence families of the burghers now have education and the ambition to match the more privileged classes, and as a result, an increasing number of them are now being employed as administrators, lawyers, officers, as well as in any other positions traditionally dominated by another estate. The burghers still feel they are being unduly held back by the archaic rights and privileges of another era, but their adversaries are growing very wary of the current unnatural social mobility. Unless we do something to risk losing the support of the privileged class, but we will withdraw support from the burghers. We will, of course, back them. Yeah, the clergy and nobility are absolutely furious. That is the other tribe. Where are they at? Really deep inside. We'll deal with their army. We can't allow them to raid our colonies like this. Shipyards. We get more and more promoted culture as well, I think, right? Yes. Good. We beat the army. Let's get the colony back in Alagoas, and then we'll siege out this tribe's holdings. We will put him into a polymath of riverways, which will allow us to reduce our diplomatic cost, so we can speed up the process of catching up in terms of our naval technology. Bribes growing more accepted. What is the difference between an honest man and a fool? The fool doesn't know he's being swindled. So goes an increasingly common saying in Sardinia. That's not good. The burghers are allowing a lot of corruption. I'm sure the Chancellor would really want to crack down on that, though. Again, he's an entrepreneur. The social mobility him and his family have seen in the last decade is unparalleled, and they'd, I'm sure, want to protect what they have. Why do they need corruption when they have really effective, almost total power? Our economy is really not in good shape, all things considered. The diplomatic marriages with Vladimir, a pagan kingdom, of which we've talked about. They're very hardy, strong people. One which our traders are growing closer and closer with as our grain imports from the fertile region of the Crimea grow. And as such, we're going to turn a blind eye. Oh, tomatoes. Nice. We have to be getting close to the Spice Islands, honestly. This island is massive. Maybe this is Japan. Who knows? But regardless, we have to be getting close to the Spice Islands. It's just around the bend. And the maps clearly state that we're going to get to it, unless we fall off the earth, of course. But such matters have been clearly disproven. They have retreated into the Fountain of Youth and in Hambupe. That is where the Fountain of Youth is, the water of life. And Rodolfo di Pesana will go back to searching for the City of Gold. Though the waters of life, the Fountain of Youth, is a marvel beyond belief. It is the City of Gold that Sardinia seeks more than anything else. Oh, Britain! Arguin is being colonized by the British. We're going to be able to get an alliance with Vladimir. Alright, it's looking like our future allies are going to be Lotharingia and Paratsinga. There are two small tribes with a very special arrangement. The women live by themselves, far from the men, who they only allowed to visit them a couple times each year. Any boy fathered this way is returned to the father, and the girls are kept by the women. If approached at any other time that is appointed, the women will defend themselves with bows and arrows. The men of this strange tribe are currently preparing for another visit and have invited the male expeditions to join them. We'll learn about these customs. And perhaps these are the ones who once help out the defenders of Troy. Jesus Christ, France is fighting the Papal States. The Salzburgian humiliation of France. Bourgogne died out. Oh my god, it's House Salian. They're still around? That's the old rulers of the Holy Roman Empire. How Salian ruled the Holy Roman Empire for almost all of CK3